Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday Inspiration. My name is Fernanda Torres, and we're back with Dr. Linda Marquez today. We are going to keep it real. We're going to be talking about emotions and how our emotions are directly impacting our health, or do they even impact our health? How are you doing, Dr. Linda?
I'm great. Perfect. I would say the topic we had talked about preparing for this, and we're going to just be so real and honest because it's been crazy for both of us this week, right?
It has been. It's such a coincidence that we started doing the same meditations, first of all, basically on the same day. And we've been feeling about the same way. And we had the same idea about the topic for the podcast. So we're pretty connected. our vibrations pretty
Yeah.
connected, but it's also a very relevant topic because it's affecting so many other people out there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it goes to show to me that no matter how much you're doing and how much you're investing in yourself and on mindfulness and journaling, and you can be super committed and you still have days like today, for example, where something's just not going on, something's going
Mhm.
on that you're not feeling well, and it's impacting your day, correct?
Absolutely. And the irony of all this, I've been having tech support problems since yesterday. We ran our first class on a new platform, and some people weren't able to get on. They said I never got an email. Other people said I heard you perfect. The recording was perfect, and I'm like, what's going on here? And it's like I like to be in control of things, and it was totally out of my control. I don't know why it happened. Why were some people able to log on? Why some never got an email? And I started almost going back into my old default pattern. I don't know if that ever happens with you, and you have to catch yourself like, oh, I'm not going down that path. Does that ever happen to
Oh
you?
my gosh, Dr. Linda. And I have to tell you that one of the main things that I do when I feel like I'm kind of falling into that pattern of
Mhm.
negativity, and my mind starts talking, and the voice inside the head starts
Yeah.
kind of just going crazy and telling you all these stories and everything. I try to grab the phone and call someone who I know can snap me out of it. Or
Yeah.
the other thing that I do is I watch a video.
Yes.
And yesterday, the video that I decided to watch was The Strangest Secret by Earl.
Hmm.
And today I watched video by Napoleon Hill about happiness and positive attitude and why it's so important. So even if it's every single day that I have to listen to something to remind me that it's important for my health, for my environment, for my results, for my life, for my goals and dreams and everything that I want to do, to just keep on this positive attitude and not letting myself influence myself from the outside things, right? But
Yes.
it's easier said than done. It is way easier said than done.
Yeah, and talk about irony with everything. My phone was not working right. I was finally able to turn it on today and actually retrieve messages. And there's a voicemail from my daughter who lives in California. Talk about relevancy and vibrational frequency and emotions. There's a message on there, and she says, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I'm thinking, oh, what's going on? And she goes, I threw up my food yesterday. I woke up this morning, I drank water, and I threw up, and I tried to eat something and I threw up. And she goes, and I'm on my way to work. And this was earlier this morning at 7 o'clock. And here I'm getting this message. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to call her back. So I
Oh
do call her
no.
back. Yeah, and this is like all perfect timing. And so I just got off the phone a few minutes before we even got on live. And I'm like, you're not going to believe what our topic is, because she'll say, Mom, my stomach just hurts. And so, I started going down like the mom questions, down the doctor questions, what did you eat? What are you doing? What are you stressing about? What's going on? Because I've been trying to keep in touch with her, or stay in touch with her over the weekend, um, because she's at that state. And when you're in your 20s, sometimes you think you have to have life all figured out. I don't know if you ever felt that, but I always tell people
I
sometimes that
still
happens.
feel the same way.
Right? That's what I told her, Fernanda. I said, you may be in this time of your life where you're like trying to figure out. At 30, you're going to be a different person. At 40, you're in a different person. And in those phases, you're going to realize that is this really what I want to do? Am I being real to me? Am I being authentic and true to what my spirit is calling me? I think you kind of go through that. Like you were saying, you feel that too, right? So isn't it ironic how, I was sharing with her about us doing this podcast, and even like last time we had Kimberly Rinaldi, who we've been trying to get on, about that whole dopamine addiction. But the irony of this, Fernanda, was that she said, Mom, I feel like I'm in this, she goes, I don't know, like this default network. And that's exactly what came out of her mouth, this default network that I'm going back to some really bad old habits, and I don't know where they started. Isn't that ironic how you have your own intelligence, to tell you that something's not right? And she's always been like a happy person. But what's interesting was she said, I remember, Mom, when you used to make us watch the movie, The Secret. She was a little girl, and she says, and I remember the part a lot that about when people were sick, and it was how it was their mind and their thoughts. She remembers that from a little girl.
Wow. That is so powerful.
Isn't that wild?
That is so powerful.
Yeah. And like you were saying, what do? It's like you get on the phone, you Google or watch a video, or sometimes that's why I say, I just Google like how to get out of an anxious mood or how to get out of being depressed, or I will Google that because at this day and age, like our favorite doctor, Joe Dispenza, will say, ignorance is the choice when you have information at your fingertips.
That is, oh my gosh, that is powerful. Yes, yes. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's such a good source, a great source, an excellent source of understanding some of the topics that we're going to be explaining today about emotions and how the emotions directly impact our bodies. And I was reading the other day, Dr. Linda, I don't know if you've ever read any studies related to this, but I was reading the other day a study about DNA and DNA reactions based on emotions. And the DNA reacts positively, so it upregulates or downregulates depending on how you feel, basically how your emotions are. So by connecting with anything that gives us a positive emotion, even on a day where we're feeling blah, when we're feeling not ourselves, when we're feeling down or depressed or hopeless or any negative emotion, if we recognize that and we make it a point to even sit quietly and reflect on gratefulness or anything like that for about 5-10 minutes, even those 5 or 10 minutes are going to be of positive influence in our biology, in our genes, and in our bodies. So even if it's a quiet time, setting it in your schedule and saying, okay, for the next 10 minutes, even though everything's falling apart and I'm feeling crap, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to pretend like my life, it's just bliss and love and fun and joy. And because literally your body feels everything that comes into your mind has an equal reaction in your biology, in your every cell in your body. So it's something that, again, it's easier said than done, because when you're feeling like that and you sit quietly and you're trying to contemplate over the positive things going in your life and you're feeling like crap, you're like, okay, this is not working. But pushing through and getting to that state where you can actually feel gratefulness for even the little things on a bad day makes a significant change. Yeah.
And I think that's where you and I are like, we are learners for life. I said, we will always be students for life. And then the things that just come out of our mouth, I'm like, where did that come from? Like the analogy earlier when I was talking to my daughter, and I mean, I would they had to listen to different hypnosis. They'd had to watch different movies because I didn't have cable and I just didn't want traditional, things like that in our home. So we had all that. So they were it kind of controlled what went in their head and their mind. But what was interesting is I told her, I said, honey, you're just starting life out. So it's like buying a house, and maybe you have a shovel and maybe you have a hammer, and you realize, oh, it's fall and I have all these trees out there. And now I have all these leaves. I don't have anything to rake this off. I'm going to have to go buy a rake. So I was just trying to explain to her, is like, all those tools that you have to keep your house in order, the outside house, you have to have tools to keep your inside house. And this, whether it's like you were sharing, closing your eyes, meditation, EFT, visualization, there's so many different strategies that, there's a toolbox that we have to go to, and that tool is not going to be the exact tool that you need at this moment, but you have another one, then you have another one. You have YouTube, it's like,
Yes,
I got a Google video that boom will take me out of that state within seconds.
Dr. Linda, you mentioned something super powerful. And of course, yes, we have all these tools and we are able to do that. And we all experience these negative emotions and everything. But the main thing is knowing, and you said it perfectly, you have to have tools for working inside of yourself, right? Just like you have tools for anything that you do outside. You have a car to get you places, and you have a notebook and a pen if you need to write, and you have so many tools for everything. Washing your hair, you have shampoo and conditioner. So everything that you do in life, you have tools. And equally, like you said, we have to have tools for our inside world, right? For the world literally that matters the most, because what matters the most is what we tell ourselves, what's going on in our mind, because that's where everything starts. What we see on the outside, what we see in our physical world, is simply a representation of everything that's going on in our minds. Absolutely. So instead of trying to find more and more and more tools on the outside that it's going to maybe give us happiness or a sense of contentment for a few minutes, maybe for a day or two, we need to find those tools that are going to give us that sense of wellness and joy and happiness and calmness inside. Because if we're calm inside, we're okay outside. There is a saying that says that the body hears everything the mind says. So everything your mind is thinking, your body is feeling.
Yes. And remember when, I don't know if we're going to get Kimberly back on, but when we talked about the dopamine response, remember, and you hit it so perfectly right now. Now my daughter's like, Mom, and I know, she's probably going to laugh because I'm talking about her, because I'm like, you're going to have to listen to our podcast. I go, it's going to be 3 Latin women just talking about stuff in life. But I told her, I said, and she says, I know that the problem is inside, and I know that the solution is inside. I'm like, well, you need to acknowledge yourself for that. I told her, acknowledge yourself for that, because that right there is a realization that probably 80 to 90% of the population will never grasp. That, the problem is inside of me, so the solution is inside of me. Of looking at the economic challenges, or looking at the pure example of, like, I know you like Tony Robbins, I like Tony Robbins, and you go to he's got these major events that, 2 or 3 times a month, right? Thousands of people. It's like going to a rock concert, and
super powerful. That guy, his voice and everything is just.
You feel like you're in church sometimes.
Say hi.
Even just that type of energy it's just, it's so different. And then when everything started to shut down and COVID started to shut down, it was funny how he was explaining to one of his friends, Dean Gracioli, he was saying, this is not fair. This is not fair. And he was going into that negative state because he has built his business, but he has help people by doing events in person. So I use that example to my daughter in when I was going through a training the last week, the word that came out was pivot. You've got to learn how to pivot. Otherwise, if you don't learn how to pivot, you're going to stay in that negative state. Do we have Kim back on?
I think we do. Let's see if
you can get her in. So, I hope we can hear her.
Am I back? I did hold your camera, hold your audio. You can see the mic. I got it.
We got it. Making it work.
I'm here.
Well, this is just about, like we were talking about, this is going to be just about keeping it real. And this is everyday life situations, like you look at people and you think they have it all together. And I love the last time when you talked about that dopamine response.
You know, I was listening and watching you guys while I was trying desperately to get equipment hooked up. And you were talking about pivot, and you and I were in the same training. And one of the things that really came to mind when I was watching that is something from behavioral training from a million years ago. The person or system with the most operational flexibility, ability to pivot, has the best outcome. It's evolution, babe. That's all it is. Simply evolution. Something was brought up and at that training, they were talking about the book Who Moved My Cheese, which is a fabulous book written in, I believe, the late 80s, early 90s. And what we've realized is a lot of people right now, especially right now, because I believe there was a subconscious belief that once kids went back to school, once summer was over, we get back to the same old, same old.
Yeah.
If you haven't read Who Moved My Cheese, go and find it. It's a short read, but a lot of people are standing in that space, looking backwards at what was and just saying, I want my damn cheese back. I don't care what happens. I just want my cheese back. Give me my damn cheese. And I realized going through that system, there's aspects in everybody's life where we just stop and we do that. It's not fair. I've worked too hard. I've spent too much time. I've invested too much of myself. But nobody ever said life was going to be fair.
Yeah.
It is what, and I hate the saying, it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And when you can reside in the what is space and free up all that energy from, you know, why did this happen? How can I go back there? Or what's the worst thing that's kind of, you know, if you can stand right where you are and just simply allow that creative space that never happens within the problem. It all happens in a creative space outside of the problem. Anything that isn't the problem is potentially the solution. So stop marinating in the biology of default brain mechanism that's designed on negative bias to keep you safe. Safe doesn't get you what you want.
No.
So,
Yeah.
You know, one thing that you mentioned that I think it's important, and it's something that I do myself when I'm feeling as any sort of negative way,
right?
That fact that it is what it is, it's simply the reality of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's simply the reality. It doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's anything. It's simply what's going on. And I do this with my kids all the time. And as a matter of fact, I did that with my youngest this morning. You know, he's having a meltdown because we enrolled him in school a little bit late. We just moved to Arizona. It's like 3 weeks late. He's trying to catch up. He's 9 years old. He came, you know. So he
ruined his life, obviously.
Right? Oh my gosh, I'm so guilty. But he's having a meltdown. Mom, I have to do like 5 different projects for 5 different classes, and I'm so overwhelmed and all these things. And I'm like, okay, so it is what it is. This is what you need to do. And by you getting overwhelmed, by you getting on this negative state of, oh my God, it's so much, how am I going to start? And I'm never going to finish and all these things, you're already setting yourself up to start in a negative pattern. And therefore your results, your work and everything's going to yield negative results or not as positive results that you would want to. So what you need to do is you need to review. And I didn't talk to him like this, right? I talked to him as a 9-year-old. Right. But what you need to do, it's basically put in a list of everything that you need to do and start moving towards that direction in small steps. Don't get overwhelmed by the bigger picture. Oh my God, I have so many deadlines. Okay, what's the first deadline that you have to do? And what's the first step, the first project, the first thing on that deadline that you have to start with? And let's start with that and move to the second thing and third thing and next thing you know. But by getting overwhelmed, and we do that with our lives. If something's changing at work, we get overwhelmed by that. If something changes in our personal lives, we get overwhelmed by that. When in reality, it's just what it is, and we just need to find the best way to adjust.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't embrace change. And I'm 54 next week.
Happy early birthday.
I spent most of my, I'd say, 15 years old, 16 years old, up until I was in my mid 40s when perimenopause hit. So I spent a good 30 years if I could shake it up, if I could change it, I mean, literally, it's like everything looks status quo. These look great. What can I move to shift to keep that muscle sharp and honed and powerful? Because like everything else, it's a practice. And then perimenopause hit, and I was demanding my damn cheese back because so much changed that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And, you know, Linda, you've been with me through
Yeah.
the trajectory of this.
Mhm.
And here I am on the other side. And I look back and I think even the crap I went through was growth. It was personal development. It was rehoning that muscle, because I sat down, crossed my arms, crossed my legs, and went, no, no. I want it back the way it was, and I want it now.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in that space. You know, and Fernando, you were talking about negative mindset, negative outcome. And you don't even have to be Pollyanna, you know, happy princess walking around with the rose-colored glasses that everything's I can't do it. But, you know, you don't have to be a Disney princess expecting everything to go perfectly. You just have to be open to potential. Just eliminate the negative. Find a neutral space where it's, you know, it is what it is. As a dismissive comment, I find offensive because a lot of people use it in that place. And it shouldn't be dismissive. It is what it is reality. What it is, I must accept. All things are neutral, and I don't care what you throw at me. It's neutral until this puts a value on it. And the minute this engages in default unconscious behavior, that value is going to be, you moved my damn cheese and I want it back.
And that's so interesting you said that. I mean, this is perfect because we sometimes play that comparison game.
Yeah.
And even we compare ourselves to others, or even how we used to be. And so something that came out, and I would love to hear both your feedbacks on this, something that came out from my daughter's conversation. I said, you were always, I mean, wherever she would go, and you've met my daughter, my oldest one, you've met all three of my kids.
Yes.
And she was the one that she walked in, people just loved her. She just had this great spirit about her. People would always just love her. And she says, Mom, I feel like I don't have that anymore. I kind of like lost that. She goes, I feel like she goes, I wouldn't even want, the way I talk to myself, she goes, I don't even talk to other people that way. And here I'm talking negative to myself. And you know what came out of my mouth? And I'm like, do you know why you do that? And she says, I don't know. And I said, it's because you don't value yourself. You're not worthy of yourself. And she didn't say anything for a minute. I said, why do you think that is? And social media nowadays, what do? We compare. And when we compare ourselves, like, I can never be as articulate and funny and like Kimberly, or I can't be like Fernanda. She's got such a great way of just bringing people back in. And so I'm saying I can never be like you, or I can never be like you. So it gives me permission. It takes me off the hook from trying to improve myself and be a better person, because I can never be like any of you. So why should I try? Hey, that's the easy way out.
And it is to a huge degree. And the issue being, we will find a way to, this is default survival biology. We will find a way to stay safe, even if it makes us uncomfortable. We will find a way to stay safe, even if it keeps us from our dreams and what we want. We can say, I want more, I want better, I want different. But this, if you don't learn how to manage this, the default biology is going to tell you, sit down, shut up, stay out of the limelight, because you know what? There's saber-toothed cats out there. If you flash, if you shine, if you stand out, you're going to be someone's dinner. This is default survival, evolutionary biology, and we are working against it every single day. So, yeah, Fernando, what's your take on this?
You know, I find that it is so important, exactly what you said. And not only that, but we are, and I'm reading Dr. Joe Dispenza's book right now. So it's so interesting. He says, we're living on the past. We're a record of the past. And we are, right? And every time, and I find myself, and I've been catching myself more and more doing that, every time that perhaps I'm not doing anything and not occupied, I immediately go to what's familiar to me. I go to check my emails. I go to check my social media. I go and do the same things, the repetition, because it's my pattern. It's my subconscious. It's my program. And if you're not doing anything consciously, then you are being run by your subconscious mind. It's simple. You're either conscious or you're being run, literally. So every time we are in this program, in our subconscious program, we are literally the same person that we were the day before and the day before and the year before, and so on and so forth. So this is significant. When I'm reading the book, this is significant for health specifically, because if we consider ourselves, or if we associate ourselves with any specific condition, medical condition, then there is no way around getting rid of that medical condition. Associating yourself and your identity with that, it's crucial. If you can't disassociate with a condition and you can't stop thinking past the fact that you have that condition, or that you are a diabetic, or this or that, you're never going to be able to get past and move past that. So you got to recreate your new body, your new health. And that starts with the mind.
We have a very flawed 12-step program system that encourages people to stand up on a daily basis in front of witnesses and declare their brokenness repeatedly. And while I agree, 12-step programs have helped people get out of alcohol addiction, drug addiction, sex addiction. I mean, you name the addiction, there's a 12-step program for it. There comes a point that once you're out of it, you are no longer a product of that decision making, yet they will hold you there. I love that you say that. It's the I am syndrome. Once you embrace that identity, because that's where change happens, is at the level of identity. And what is identity? It's what we believe we are. I am. Unconscious.
And everything that follows that I am, it's going to be actions and thoughts and feelings that are going to reassure you that you are right. So everything that happens in your environment is going to be reassuring you. Everything. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that if you think something, if you're thinking red, you see red every time. It's not a coincidence. It's what you focus on. It's what you get back in your life. So if you're focusing about your arthritis and how your arthritis is keeping you from doing all these things in your life, and you can barely move, and your knees are bothering you so much, and they're so painful, and you're so stiff, guess what? You're going to be even stiffer tomorrow. Your body gives you what you're asking for.
Exactly. And I put this on for a reason. It's a visual representation. I actually have tiaras all over the house. Linda stayed with me. She knows. There's a reason I have tiaras all over the house. When I'm not feeling well, I don't put pajamas on, climb into bed with a handful of tissue and expect, oh my God. I have a bell that I ring. I've been known to call Rick and ring the bell on his cell phone because he couldn't hear me, obviously. I put a tiara on. I put the best pajamas I have on because, damn it, I feel bad. I am not going to even buy into that. I'm not going to allow it to change who I believe I am. I feel badly, but I am not sick. I feel badly, but I am not in pain. I feel uncomfortable. And the difference between discomfort and pain, a lot of people do not understand. They are the same thing. So it's the language, it's the thought process, it's what we do with it. I love yoga. I've been a practitioner since I was 5 years old. I found it. I fell in love with it. And yoga teaches us we are not who we were even a moment ago. We have cells that have died off, cells that have been reborn. We are not the same person we were just that moment ago. Biologically, we are biologically a new person every moment. That is what our brains are capable of as well. And it's not a competition. You were talking about, the comparative. There are days I can do a full split. There are days that I get into a partial split. There are days I can do a full split and need help getting up from it. And I never look at anything other than, well, that's interesting. What do you suppose that means? It means nothing other than that's where my body is.
Yeah. It is what it is at this moment.
That's where you
are.
Yeah.
And when you can embrace what is, when you can live in that moment, that is where you find the peace, the joy, the comfort. That is where you start to let go of things. I mean, and we're all practitioners of this to varying degrees. Some of us longer, some of us shorter. I 3 days ago, Mr. Rinaldi and I were heading out somewhere, and he said something that triggered me because, well, he's a man and he's got a Y chromosome. It's not his fault. And we were getting in the car, and I started walking down the, for the love of God, if I've said this 5 times, I've said this 1,000 times. I can't believe he said this. We've been trapped in the same house since April when I got back after being trapped in Palm Springs. But most people have been trapped in the same house for going on 6 months with each other. And I thought, is this what I want to take away from this experience?
Yeah.
Consciousness. Consciousness breeds change. Be conscious about what your thoughts, your feelings, what you eat, where you spend your time, how you view yourself. How you view yourself. That's a little crooked.
That's going to be a good present that, that should be our girl thing, to give it to other women as a gift, to remind them when, as Kimberly said, when you're having a shitty day and you're feeling horrible and you're not feeling like, put your dang crown on, go put your tiara on and get it off.
There we go. All right. Straighten out your damn tiara.
Yeah.
Pull up the big girl panties. Take responsibility for how you feel. See, nobody in this world, nothing in this world is going to make you happy other than you. And it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a damn choice. That's all it is. You can choose.
And that choice comes with awareness, being aware in the moment and doing the best thing that you can for that specific moment. And if you do the best thing that you can, if you bring that attitude, that positive attitude to everything, to your work, to your family, to your kids, to any conversation that you're having to anyone, even the conversation with yourself in the mirror when you're getting ready to go to work or when you're getting ready to start your day. That conversation is probably the most important. And like you were saying before, the way that we talk to us with your daughter, the way that we talk to us is probably the worst talk that we can ever have. Most of the time, if we're unconscious, we talk to ourselves unconsciously. Why are you so stupid? Why are you so dumb? Why can you never get anything wrong or right in life? And all these conversations when we're going through a bad time, of course, when we're stressed out or annoyed or anything, those are the conversations that we have. And I was listening and reading someone once, and they said, if we ever allowed anybody outside of ourselves to talk to us in that way, that person would probably never be allowed to be near us again, ever again.
I had an old friend who's no longer with us, who I use self-depreciating humor because people can relate to it. The reality is I'm very good about what I allow within this space because I've got 30 plus years of behavioral communication training. But in a moment while I was doing something, she pulled me aside and she said, "Why would you say that about a friend of mine?" And I thought, who was I saying that about? What do you mean? And she said, you said something that was just so negative about you. And why would you say that about a friend of mine? And it was so touching to me. And I just thought, if we called each other on the, I'm the reason I can't have nice things behavior that we pull. If we did that, what a powerful statement, what a powerful tool. And I've used it in clinical settings with clients where it's like, why would you say that about somebody I care about? And it's that shift. It's like, well, hold on. There's value to you. And it hasn't, I'm going to show you the value I see, but your value is inherent. The other side of it is, and I use this, is if the words you're using on yourself, you would not use on a beloved 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Think about the 5-year-olds in your world, those impressionable young minds and souls and spirits. If you wouldn't use this language on a beloved 5-year-old, why in the fuck are you using it on yourself?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
That is
Something to think about. And that's where, like you were talking about also, Fernanda, about the awareness, about being aware and catching yourself that, oh, this is going on. And then going back, like, I really remember what you've, because I have so many tools that I've learned through you, Kimberly. And I was like, okay, what tool am I going to use? But I think, two takeaways for, that I would tell a person is just like, it's definitely the tools that you have to, we get to use. And even just the words, like, Fernanda, you're talking to your son, instead of you have to do this, you get to do this. The have to is just like, you have to do this so that you can eat dinner. It's just like, oh, you get to clean your room so you eat dinner. Okay, I get to clean my room. I get to instead of I have to. So even it always, I don't like to use always, but it really does. It goes back to what are we allowing here and how's it coming out through here? Because the body has memories in it that will respond to that.
Yeah.
Totally.
We're bathed in neurotransmitter. Every thought, every emotion, every experience creates a biochemical reaction.
And let me say that again, every thought, every experience creates an equal reaction in our bodies. So that means that every time we have to slam on the brakes and we get annoyed because a car cuts us off, just for that simple 5 seconds, we get mad, we get frustrated or annoyed. We're telling our bodies that we're in danger, that they need to down-regulate, and we're causing disease to our bodies. So is it worth it? Is it worth it to get all worked up about the little things in life? And we all have challenges, and we all have our days. So it's not like, oh, once you get to that point, you never have a bad day in your life. It doesn't happen that way. And I was sharing with Dr. Linda and Kimberly, I was having a rough couple of days. And I was in this funky mood for a couple of days. And I was like, what is going on? I recognized it. And I knew it was going on. And I still couldn't shake it off. So it happens. And that's why having friends, having support system, having tools and different tools that you can use, because you won't use the same screwdriver to fix every single thing in your house, right? You have different tools for different things. So having different tools and recognizing that it's nothing outside, but it's in us. And that's the only way and the only solution and the only thing that it's going to bring us that best feeling in our lives, nothing else.
And can I touch on that? And while a tool may not work or resonate with you in a moment, don't toss it out. Half the tools I learned when I started my NLP and hypnosis training were touch-based, where you had to actually walk around your desk and go and touch a client. And I am an introvert and I am not a big physical touchy-feely person. So it was like, yeah, those don't work for me. They don't work. The reality is physical touch, and knowing, 30 years of behavioral training, physical touch anchors biology. This is why when, sweetheart comes home and he's had a bad day and honey meets him at the door and he's bitching and she's bitching and they hug each other. And then all of a sudden, 5 years down the road, sweetheart comes in the door and honey looks at him and thinks, oh my God, why have I not smothered him in his sleep? I can hardly stand the way he breathes. We become anchored. We have to be really careful about what we allow to anchor.
Yeah.
So when you have a tool that you don't believe works, or it just hasn't been the best for you in that moment, break it out later. Try it again. These tools work. We teach them for a reason, because they do work. And while they're not 100% of the time, don't throw it out, because it's good to have in your toolbox. And if you find something that doesn't work, keep looking, keep digging. I am Mary Poppins grabbing stuff out of that travel bag, throwing things, and I will keep looking until I find a tool that works. And in behavior, we say there is no such thing as a resistant client. There are only inflexible practitioners.
Wow, that's powerful. That is pretty powerful.
And it's true. It's absolutely true. I've only seen failure in clients that I refuse to keep moving my game, keep upping my game for. If I refuse to do that, then I've got a resistant client.
Mm-hmm.
So
or that flexibility.
If one can, all can. So if one person is capable of happiness or healing or health or any of those things that you want, everyone
it's possible for you.
Yep, everyone is.
Kimberly, to finish off, could you give us one simple tool that we can all use in our lives when we're feeling down, when we're having doubts, when we're feeling anxious, or when life is getting to us?
Absolutely.
Buy a tiara. That's one.
Aside from the tiara.
Go to my website. I'll have them. No. Tiaras are fabulous, and I do have them all over the house. So here's a tool, and it's a shortcut. You guys are familiar with EFT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shortcut, shortest cut you need. And I have trouble with my camera, so here, let me sit up. Heart center. That's all. It's the only thing I want you to do is just tap on heart center and repeat after me. Even though I'm having a crappy day.
I'm having a crappy day.
I can choose.
I can choose.
These are my choices. I can choose differently.
I can choose differently.
Or I can choose default.
Choose default.
I'm capable of change.
I'm capable of change.
And even if I'm not,
I
want to be.
I want to be.
I can choose.
I can choose.
These are my choices.
These are my choices.
From this moment forward. In all direction of time and space.
In all directions of time and space.
I am bound by nothing.
I am bound by nothing.
And capable of anything.
Capable of anything.
And my anything right now.
My anything right now
is choice.
Is choice.
For one moment.
For one moment.
I believed I didn't have it.
I believe I didn't have it.
I'm going to stop reading those news reports.
I'm going to stop reading those news reports.
Because I can choose.
I can choose.
I can choose.
I can choose.
And I choose.
And I choose.
All right, take a deep breath. Tell me what shifted, and then I will explain why that works.
I feel like it's giving the power back to yourself. That's how I felt.
Yeah. Just lighter. Feel lighter, like the body. Just.
A lot of times with a lot of tools, people are taught avoid the negative. Avoid the thing in here that's telling you you can't. I walked through the discomfort. I walked through the conflict. I walked through the capability. That's all it takes. Consciousness breeds change. So EFT is a long, protracted process. There's tapping points. There's language. Heart center. Where do you hurt when you're grieving?
In your heart.
Where do you get tight when you're stressed?
This area.
Chest band. Where does all of our tension go? Where do we feel it most? We start shallow breathing. Our chests, our shoulders become tight. So just tap on heart center and just simply start, even if all you're starting with is, I don't know what to say, but I don't feel good and I don't like it. And I know I want to feel different. And then walk through the conflict. I'm not capable. I don't know any better. I don't know how, but I can choose. I don't know how to choose. I don't think I can choose. I didn't think I could choose a minute ago, but I can choose now. As long as you walk through the conflict, as long as you allow this to unload, and we call it emptying the bucket, get it out. Get it out. This is where having that, it is what it is, reality conversation, because you can't stuff it away. Avoidance is not resolution. It never will be. You have to take it out and look at it and start to tell this. I understand this is not optimal. It's not ideal. This is not what I want. But this doesn't get to keep making decisions based on default biology. That's all that was. It was simply a conversation that says, I'm not happy where I'm at. I can choose differently. Even if I don't think I can, I want to.
Mhm.
I can make it all directions of time and space. So it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It's not mattering what happens now, and it will not matter what happens tomorrow. I get to choose.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Kimberly.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think with that, we're going to take off. Thank you, Dr. Linda. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for everybody that connected.
Yes. Yes.
That was such a powerful episode. I felt it. I needed to decompress as well.
We're all lighter. So we'll see everyone next week. Same
And
time.
everybody get the tiaras.
Yes.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.